Alright, so I might be biting off a little bit more than I can chew, but I recently announced a project that I've been working on about just doing a deep dive into Judaism, exploring how it's changed throughout the centuries, how it's become what it is today. And as I've been moving in that direction, there have been some things that I thought would be good to clarify, specifically because of the opposing rabbinic view of certain topics, such as Christophanies, or God appearing in human form in the Bible, specifically the Tanakh and the Torah. I will be and have been accused, Christians are accused of being idol worshippers because they worship a man who claims to be God, or they worship a man as they would worship a god. That's called idolatry, but it's not idolatry if the man we're worshipping is actually the God that we are supposed to be worshipping. That is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So I just wanted to make this video to have as a reference point to share with any people who will come against me with that kind of pushback, just to explain why I believe what I believe and why I think that that it is the case that God can appear in human form, specifically in the form of Jesus. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is what is a Christophany. So it's a visible appearance of the pre-incarnate Christ in the Old Testament, often as the angel of the Lord who speaks as God, receives worship, and reveals God's presence. So the common pushback to that is that it's not actually God, it's just a messenger or an angel, a human messenger. The word in Hebrew for angel is the same word for messenger. So an angel is a messenger. So there is some play with the words there. If it talks about an angel, that could be a human messenger, but it could also be one of God's angels. And this is the reason that I don't think that these Christophanies, or these appearances of God as a man, are angels or human messengers. Here's why. So humans, I have this thing here. So in the passages, they're identified as God. So humans or angels or human messengers are not identified as God. They don't speak as God. They do not accept worship. They do not call the ground holy. They don't perform miracles, and they're not referred to as the Lord. But obviously God is all those things. And it goes without saying, but again, I thought it was important to have that up here. So there's several examples of it. There's I made another thing here. Just a bunch of passages where it does seem that it's really God appearing to people in human form or as an angel. Most of the time as the angel of the Lord. And yeah, I'll just pull those up. So the scriptures are Genesis 16, where the angel of the Lord appears to Hagar. And then Genesis 18, where the Lord appears to Abraham. Genesis 22, the angel of the Lord appears to Abraham. Genesis 32, Jacob wrestles with a man. Joshua 5, the commander of the army of the Lord appears to Joshua. Judges 2, the angel of the Lord rebukes Israel. Judges 6, the angel of the Lord appears to Gideon. Judges 13, the angel of the Lord appears to Manoah. Now, there's other examples that I didn't include there, and some of the reason is because they are more debated than others. I have collected some that are debated, so there's heavily debated ones or less obvious Christophanies, Genesis 3, that's where God is walking in the garden. It would seem that he's walking in the garden as human form. It's simply debated because before sin, there isn't really any evidence to show that humans couldn't be in the presence of God the Father. And so that's not really the most obvious Christophany, but it could be. Exodus 3, the angel of the Lord in the burning bush. Now, there's several reasons as to why people believe that that is a Christophany. I'm leaning more toward a theophany. I have reasons for that. I can talk about that in later videos. And then the angel of the Lord appearing to Balaam, and then Daniel 3, the fourth man in the fire. Now, again, there's others that I didn't include there, and I might make a video on all of those, I might not, and I might make a video with talking about multiple in the same video. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. There are some that I definitely want to talk about, like where God appears to Abraham, the two angels and the man, or the three men. There's a lot of rabbinic pushback against the notion that that's actually God. They teach that that's an angel. Same with Jacob when he wrestles with the angel. And yes, he is called an angel in later passages, but we have strong reason to believe that that is the angel of the Lord, or God himself. I definitely want to talk about those. I do think it's an important topic to have on my channel for the reasons that I said. There is a lot of pushback, specifically from rabbinical Judaism. Just a lot of... They do teach that... I already mentioned this, but they teach that where God appears as a man, it's not actually God, it's just an angel or a human messenger, and I think it's important to talk about that, especially if I'm going to be teaching on Judaism. So I wanted my beliefs to be clear on the topic, so that if people do push against it, which I know they have because they already have in some of my videos, I want to have this up here on my channel to show why I believe what I believe, and it's just a good reference point. So if this is your first time watching a video from my channel, welcome. It's great to have you on board. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about the project and teaching about Judaism, I've recently been diving into Judaism, reading about it throughout history. Something I would like to point out is that the Judaism of today is not the same as the Judaism of the first century, which wasn't the same as the Judaism of the Bible times. It wasn't really Judaism then. It was just covenant relationship with God. So what I've been doing is reading through all sorts of sources that I can find on the topic, trying to examine the history of Judaism, how it's shifted and become what it is today, to help us believers in Jesus as the Messiah to approach the Jewish people with the gospel, with a better understanding of what they believe and why, and also to help us better understand Scripture in the way that the original audience would have. That being said, if you want to join me on this journey, then you're more than welcome, and I would be honored if you share this video with other people, people who you think might need to hear about these kinds of things. But yeah, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. I appreciate that. There's strong reason to believe that God appeared in human form throughout the Old Testament, and then him coming as Jesus isn't a new thing that Christians have made up. That's what I'm speaking against. That's why I'm making this video. I just wanted to be clear. So expect some videos on the topic of Christophanies, and I am working on the reason I started this video by saying I bit off more than I can chew is because there's just so much happening right now. I have a full-time job that I'm working. I'm also a full-time student. I have a wife, so I have a marriage that I'm I need to be active about. I can't just neglect my wife. And there's other responsibilities that are going to be added pretty soon, starting in August. So there's just a lot that I have going on. So any kind of support I get is great. It's very encouraging. People have been subscribing to the channel. People have been commenting and liking, and that's been so helpful. It's been very encouraging, very motivating. But before I go on ranting too much, I am doing it for the Lord, not for men. I'm doing it to serve him and to reveal the truth of his word. And if God says something about who he is through his word, then I want to believe it. And if he's shown us that he has revealed himself in these ways, I want to believe it, and I want to teach it to others. So that's the reason I'm doing this. This video is already longer than I intended for it to be. Thank you for watching it. I really appreciate that. And I hope you stick around for other videos. See you.